All right, my man.
That's fucked up.
Going on first podcast. Let's hit this.
Excited.
I am very excited. Very excited. All right, Mr. Ansh. So talk to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. What do you? There's lots of things I've been working on at the moment, which I'm really excited about, and I think it's been a really nice process this year because last year was feeling very. I didn't have like a direction that I was going in, so it's felt really nice this year to kind of start on a foot which has direction.
Awesome.
And yeah, I don't know. Have you felt something similar or?
Yes, I have. I mean, my business has actually gone through a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
When you think about it, especially with event management, my background, first off, is slightly different. So what I mean by that is when I started in events, I started in music. That is totally different to corporate or any of the other events that you think. For a lot of the times, a lot of people put events into one basket, and that part makes it hard for a lot of people to understand.
Yeah, because when you say events, you think of nighttime corporate events and that's it, right? But you do a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, when you think of events, you even think as a birthday party all the way up to a wedding, it really kind of, a lot of people's experience with event is directly correlated to the experience that they've had in their own lives, so it's not, so that people don't even see it that way.
Yeah.
However, when you transition from a one event industry to another, it again is completely different, and for me, when I started in corporate, I was literally like, okay, I know how to organize events. How hard can it be, and that's how I jumped into it. And I was again lucky enough to get my first contract, which was with the Sydney Hills Business Chamber, in less than 8 weeks of starting the business.
Which is where I met you.
Exactly, which is where we met.
I came on as a visitor on one of those, and yeah, I met you there for the first time, which is a while ago now, isn't it?
It was a while ago. Yeah, that was at least 10 years. I think we met maybe 7 years ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, but I think you were doing a lot for your dad. He has that awesome restaurant, Indian restaurant that I love. The food is so good.
Yeah.
And every year, our biggest event was in that restaurant. For the Hills Chamber. It was so good.
Really.
So and I think you were in and out of the restaurant. I knew that you were doing their photo shoot in the background as well.
Yeah, so we were doing like photos and videos for them too, which was really good. It was a lot of fun, and it was great because I could experiment a lot with it. Yeah, I was like, I was a really good
parents' house. Let me do whatever I want.
Which is also tough, right? Because then, like being parents, like you don't go through the same process as a client.
No, you don't.
With a client, you'll go through like, this is what you're gonna get. This is what I'm charging you. This is what the deal is. With parents, it's like, all right, I'll see you there at 12 o'clock. And it's like, why isn't anything set up? Because, from my end as well, I didn't give them direction. I wasn't giving them, the same amount of feedback or contract signing or anything that I would do with a client.
Well, you're not going to treat it like a client. It's as simple as that. You're going to say, oh, these are my folks, I'm going to take it a bit more easy, but also on the other side, I mean, that's the best part though. That's, I think, how most of us start. We always start from an angle that we can relate to, and that's probably what happened.
Actually, like a very interesting process, because when I first started shooting for mum and dad, like I was already established and everything. It wasn't like my first kind of gig or anything like that. I was already established.
Oh, good.
As a creative. And I was already doing photo and video. But what happened was I started shooting for them, and I wasn't charging them. And I realized later on that was a mistake.
Okay.
Because I don't want to charge my parents anyway. Yeah. Right. So and it was actually my dad that came back to me. So what happened was I was shooting for them, and it was just not working. We were butting heads. And it was, they weren't really taking it as a big value add, because it was just like
a serious thing. Seriously, yeah, that's the most thing. Yeah.
And I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm devoting my time to this, and I'm not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
I ended up like stopping shooting for them, and they got someone else in to shoot stuff.
Yeah.
and he was just doing photos, and it was okay. It was very basic. He was adding some crazy filters to it that,
Yeah.
Anyway, he did that for a while, and then they stopped with him, and I kind of came back in. But Dad was like, I think you should charge us. And it's because I never understood. I just kind of vocalized to him. I was like, look, I was getting really frustrated before.
Yeah.
I want to do this stuff for you. I can do much better than what you're currently getting. And Dad's like, look, I think charge us something, and let's set proper timings. Like, you're here from this time to that time, And I said, all right, let me just run you as a client. I'll book it in my diary, every shoot we do.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Then it started working really good.
Awesome.
I'd have a pre-planning session with them, and we'd go through, what exactly we're doing on the shoot. And I'd say, make sure all this is planned so that when we show up, the right staff members are on board, the right food is prepped, the right drinks are prepped, and we've got a proper storyboard set up. Once we started doing that, it was great. Then the quality of content got better and better, and Mum and Dad got into it a lot more.
It's I think it's about setting the tone and setting the standard, isn't it?
No matter who it is.
No matter who it is.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I think the second you start seeing it that way, I think it changes the game completely.
Yeah.
And setting the tone and setting the standard is a big part of what I'm doing this year, with that clarity of direction that I have, because my business has been through so much up and down. I feel like I've come to a stage where I definitely have a lot more clarity, like you said.
Tell me about so what is the clarity that you got now?
So the biggest thing is really around, one, learning to say no.
No.
Well, so to clients, stakeholders, and suppliers that I think that are not going to deliver to the standards that we think were delivered.
No to taking on their business, or no to them as a supplier, or us?
Not so much taking on their business, but it's more about finding out more about them, and seeing that if this is the actual result that they want. So, for example, I've had a lot of challenges with matching clients' visions. Do you know what I mean? To the events that they want to deliver.
Yep.
And I only say this because change is such a big thing for them. When you send out the proposal, for example, when you send them out this amazing proposal that outlines exactly what you're going to deliver, that outlines a vision of what they're trying to deliver, they accept it and they're happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
But when the process starts, it ends up saying, oh, no, we want to go back to this part because our members are used to this. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting, especially in Australia. I found that a lot of people, obviously, the comfort zone.
They don't like change.
And the creativity aspect is quite hard to cut through. Especially when they're very old, traditional businesses / associations. And we deal a lot with a lot of associations in terms of putting on their conferences, AGMs meetings, networking events. And within time, so the ones that stick it out with us are the ones that within time notice our change, our input becomes better and better, and the events become better and better, and the retention, all those things becomes better. So I think it's that first hurdle of that first event that breaks a lot of that. So
do you feel like you kind of have to meet them halfway or something? Like, how do you combat that?
Well, you try and explain it. You try and explain what you've tried to put here. And sometimes it feels like it's too risky for them to do something like that. But in actual fact, they do need that kind of approach in order to really cut through their member base to say, okay, I can attract this many people to this conference, and it's going to deliver that result that I'm looking for.
So I'm also going through a little bit something similar like that at the moment. When a client comes to us and we're doing photography and videography for them, and they say to us, this is what we want, and then I'll go through a process with them where I'll actually understand their business, what they're doing, and then I'll say to them, this is actually what you need in that situation. It's because they'll come to me with an idea of framework to go, we think this is what's going to work for us because we saw someone else and that's what they did and it worked for them. But it doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for them. So I'm currently in the process of putting together almost like a case study, almost like case studies, because one of the things I found is like documentary style shoots are doing so well. Like
Yeah.
we just did one this morning.
Okay.
And for the same client we did it a month ago. His average like reach on socials was about 2,000 organic. Our videos hit about 9 to 10,000 per video from the one shoot. We got him 3 videos out from the one shoot.
Yeah.
So I'm putting together a case study. I was showing another client, just this, and his mind was blown.
Yeah.
He was like, and he's like, "How did you get a 5-minute video? People to watch 5-minute videos for that long?" And I go, "We figured out how to make content really authentic." So I wonder if it's similar for you, if some kind of a way to put together a case study. I don't know if you're already doing this, but like,
Yeah, I'm definitely doing case studies, but I want to elaborate on them more.
Yeah.
In terms of,
yes,
right now it's just simply, a written case study,
Uh-huh.
and I send that to them, and it's also up on our website.
Mhm.
But I definitely want to immerse them more in the experience of how we're going to deliver that result that they're looking for.
Yeah.
But our process is exactly the same as you, because we need to know who the target audience is
Absolutely.
in order to deliver a great event for them. So, there's always going to be a Sam who's an extrovert and a Mandy who's an introvert in the room.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask yourself, as the host, you're going to say, how do I connect them both? So, for example, for a business, you're thinking, okay, how do I connect Sam and Mandy so that they can collaborate together really, really well? This is what the event should do for them, know? So that literally, the event should do that for them.
And I remember you were doing that. Like, I remember when you were running like Growth Gen, for example.
Exactly.
You were so proactive with that. You were like putting people in a room that would work really well with each other, would actually build a connection with each other.
Correct.
I've been to so many, and sometimes it just feels like people are just there to get business cards, and I hate that.
Yeah.
It's not what it's about, and
Not anymore. Now, officially, not anymore. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's become events now. First off, from a competitive perspective, it's more competitive, and then second off, from a niche perspective, photographers, let's say like you, are looking for more expert photography groups to connect with, because they want to learn from the best or whoever's in that industry to do that. That's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is, okay, who can I collaborate with? So I can collaborate with maybe a videographer or a marketing agency. So I would go to those events. And then again, there's another niche there, that connects that connects people in that form. So hence, it's not as easy as giving away your business cards these days. Even if you do, guess what? They might not respond to you. Most of the times they don't, if you don't have that kind of connection with them. It's funny you bring this up, because I took an intern to a marketing institute, and it was her first time connecting with the industry.
So, but confronting, being first time.
Confronting space. She was an extrovert, and she held herself really well.
Yeah.
So I was very happy for her for that.
Yeah.
But I gave her 3 advice before going in. I said, first thing you need to do, your goal is to connect with 3 marketing managers. That's all you need to do. And that's the first thing you need to do. Okay, 3, you're good. The second part is you need to talk to them. You need to spend some good quality time with them and get to know them really well. And how are you going to do this? Is by not making it about you, but making it about them. And guess what? You're going to leave an impression. They'll remember you the next time. So those are the advice that I give. Your goal, only 3. And she was like, oh, thank you so much. After the networking event, she came up to me. She was like, that was the best advice ever. That I was able to really connect with some good marketing managers and really understand their world.
Yes.
And the only way that you're going to improve is that,
Definitely.
So I find that you do that, if you know how to do that in-depth conversation, your relationships, your business in general will be much, much better.
I agree. Like like I actually don't even have business cards.
Yeah. Me too. I
I-
actually stopped printing them. I do have a online business card, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, I was just saying that, like, when I go to these networking events and stuff, like, my goal is to literally just have 2 or 3 meaningful connections.
Yes. Awesome.
Just those good connections. That's all I want, and if I don't get it, I'm not upset. I'm not there to make my way around the room and see every single person.
No.
I think that speaks a lot more volume than trying to get all your information out there and trying to say hi to everyone. And it just doesn't, it doesn't work. But the advice you gave her as well is so important, because the whole concept behind, making it about them and not about you,
Yes.
it applies everywhere.
Everywhere.
I've been putting so much effort into my branding and my website, and currently in the process of a whole new rebrand. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned, is that it's all about the viewer. It's all about the person who is on your side, who's looking into your business.
Yes.
It's not about you.
No.
It's not about, hey, we produced really good quality photos and videos. No one cares.
No one cares. There's plenty of photographers out there. There's plenty of event managers out there.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do for that client?
Exactly.
So it's already a very competitive world. So how are you going to stand out?
Yeah.
And that's really by trying to understand them better. I think it's a simple concept, but it's actually one that a lot of us miss, and including myself. When I started out, I was a business card,
Get one of those guns, just the money guns.
money guns, land those. I would be using those too.
I reckon if you did that today's day, it would probably work really well.
Maybe in a festival.
Yeah.
Throw that up. That's hilarious.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Next time you go to a festival, you're gonna spend them out. That's funny. Yeah, but we all start out that way. We do, because and there's nothing actually wrong with that, because it shows your hunger, and some people will respond. You would hope that afterwards, with the people that you respond to, you build deeper connections with them, so that's the biggest thing. When you're selling a product, it's slightly different, but when you're in the service-based business, especially in Australia, oh my God, everything is based on relationships and how you build those. And yes, a part of the clarity for this year as well is doing that, is getting deeper relationships rather than spreading wide. It's go deeper into the topic, go deeper into your clients, go deeper into what they are trying to achieve. Make that bigger, make that better. So those are the things. That's the part that I definitely, the clarity piece has come into play, and I feel almost at ease because of that. So
I guess it's similar to you, that you've got some kind of a direction. You've got that direction. You're like, I'm clear on this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to narrow it down and really focus on these people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so incredible how a business works. There's so many facets around it. When we all start out, and I used to say this at Growth Gen all the time, we all look at that beautiful cafe, that with the barista and the cake at the front, and you think, wow, I'd love to own a cafe like this someday. And a lot of people literally think that way, because when they start out a photography business, they're thinking, oh, I can definitely do that better.
That looks like fun. That looks like not easy. That looks easy.
That's the mentality we have. And most entrepreneurs are found that way. But we know that the results of business and entrepreneurship is, it slams you. Let's be honest. There's no sugarcoating it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
There's no sugarcoating it. It beats you down and brings you back up, and then beats you down again, and then brings you back up. So getting some kind of clarity on where you want to be in your business is very important. But I think that first part, I keep hearing it over and over again. I think slowing down and really thinking things through and push that is really important. One side of it, and then on the other side, acting and deciding. Acting and deciding. Get done. Then that will help you with that process as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you and I had a lot of conversations about this before because uh, I was also like, while running my business as well, there'd be times where I'd be like lost, and then I'd have a conversation with you about it, and I'd be like, hey, this is where I'm kind of at, and I was still like really confused about like, how to go about it, and
Yeah.
it's part of business, I guess, because if you don't have those downtimes if you're not questioning things, if you're not wanting to change things up,
Yeah.
you're not growing.
Yeah, you know.
And if you're not hitting a low point, which is proper low,
Yeah.
you're not going, I never want to be there again.
That's right. You're not.
The driver's not there to go, I don't want to be back where I was in that time. I want to be as further away from it as possible. And I think that was, for me, like last year, that was a big hit because it was the first half of the year was just so quiet. It was just so quiet that it was just weird. Like,
Yeah.
And there were other creators, other photographers and videographers who were like, yeah, we're going through this too. And while that made me feel a bit better, it was still like, well, this is not paying my bills. I'm
Absolutely.
going into loss every month. Like it's tough. Second half of the year was a lot better, but it was just recouping what the first half of the year was. But if I didn't go through that whole process, I wouldn't have gotten to today where I went, okay, started this year, I literally sat down for the first month and I just went, I need to do things differently.
Good.
What do I need to do? And that was such a big shift. It was such a big shift where I sat down and went, all right, I'm going to grow my team. I'm going to get off the tools a bit more so that I'm shooting less.
Yeah.
And just on that, like, that's something I always felt in the past where I'm like, I never want to be off the tools because I kind of felt like, well, that's how I express my creativity. I should be always shooting. I should be always editing, and that's why I kind of kept it to myself for so long. But once I came to that state, I was like, if I come off it a bit, I can oversee things a lot clearer. I can oversee the business a lot clearer, and I can bring my creativity in a different way, which is what I'm doing now with my clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's that's been such a positive shift.
Yeah, right.
And one of the other things as well, which I always felt like I couldn't do because it was the wrong thing to do, but I'm now working towards, like, in 5 years, I want this business to be running by itself without me having to step foot in the door to say, oh, we need to do this. And I've always felt like, that means that, I don't care about the business anymore. But I've recently learned that's not the case at all.
No, it's not that at all.
It's not that at all. And it's actually a very wrong mentality. You should have your business running by itself so that you can focus on bigger things.
Absolutely.
And you're not nitpicking at things. You're not micromanaging. You're not,
It's this year, end of last year, I ended up getting a really good partnership of this new event that we're doing.
Oh, awesome.
And I think I mentioned it briefly to you, but it was a drone racing competition, which is called D-Stop, which I have
a little bit of a
Oh yeah. But so as a part of that, that for example, or I think I mentioned that to you, the partnership was, I'm an event management business. They're a drone they're drone experts. They've done all kinds of stuff in the drone industry.
Yep.
And my skills fit in really well with the racing, the competition that they're trying to develop this year.
Okay.
So just even just that, aligning yourself with an event that actually you can see come to life.
Yep.
For me, that was really, really, really showed me that I was going in the right direction. I was the same as you, though. Last year was very up and down. It was just really, really up and down, and you're definitely struggling to hit those KPIs that you want. And this year has shifted a little bit, which is great, and I've already had a much better start than last year's start.
Great.
And you can sense that, okay, companies and businesses and the non-for-profits that we're looking for are looking for people like myself who are creative, who want to actually provide something totally different to them. So from that perspective, this is how I know the direction that I'm on is in a much better place. And more importantly, one of my values is actually generosity.
Okay.
I want to keep being generous in my approach not hold back.
Yep.
Not feel like I need to hold back.
Yeah.
Not feel like guilty for holding. Just all those things. You go through your business because and sometimes you deal with people that are not so great.
Yeah.
And they kind of take that generosity for granted,
Yeah.
and they do that. But the more you sort of put that out there, the more you'll be able to attract people like that. And but also do your due diligence with these things as well. Really know who the people who want to work with you.
Yeah.
Really know them. Don't just take your time. Don't just hire someone.
Yep.
Just know the person that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And grow with them. So that's the other part of it about getting deep.
Yep.
I'm working with you most of the time these days. I don't work with other photographers and videographers, but I do need other photographers and videographers because I'm an event business. I have to have a backup plan of the backup. And that's part of the risk management that we provide. And there's some I still have relationships with other photographers and videographers that help me with these ends, with these events, so which is super important. But yeah, it's interesting times that we're going through. One, two, events are definitely in a great place because I'm finding that sponsors, attendees, and partners, all those they know what they want more than ever in events. Pre-COVID, sponsorship dollars were going around, no problems at all. But guess what happened? COVID came through and said, "Well, we can survive without events," and we're all good.
Yeah.
So when businesses are choosing their events these days, they're saying, "Okay, who can we really align with?" So this is where you need to, as an event host, say to yourself, okay, how do I get clarity in where I want to be?
Yeah.
How do I provide proper statistics around my member base or my business in order for someone to sponsor me? And then they'll come on board from that. But it all comes down to all the clarity piece that we keep talking about.
Yeah, we should both say.
Which is just interesting again and again. Yeah. So
I mean, like when you talk about having clarity in a business, it's like, obviously, right? Yeah. Obviously, it's obviously, but people don't do it. I didn't do it for so long, so many years in business, and I didn't sit down and really get clarity on where I need to go or where I am going.
Well, the thing is, it's attached to a lot of things. That clarity piece is just incredible. How many things. First off, let's be honest, it's attached to who you are first.
Yeah.
Your personality, your subconscious thoughts, the ones that your parents, your friends, your whatever, your thoughts has actually been come down.
Yeah, but
it's so interesting because once you sort of are aware of that, you're like, wow, I missed the whole, do you know what I mean? Side. So there's that part, and then obviously it's attached to performance. It's attached to delivery. It's attached to all those things. That bring that clarity.
Yeah.
Some business owners. So actually, that. This is actually a fact. The most self-aware business owners are the most successful business owners because they know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
So they're able to get there. Do you know what I mean? In clarity.
Yeah.
And then it's literally linked to that. It's just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I felt so stupid when I realized I should spend time on getting clarity in my business.
Yes.
And you say it to someone, you're like, you should have clarity in your business. Like, yeah, obviously. But
we say it casually, don't we?
But when I literally sat down to do it, I was like, I can't believe I didn't spend time on this earlier to go, where am I heading? I was just kind of going, I was working week by week, month by month, and just going, all right, this is what I'm doing.
That's how I was. Absolutely. Because I just loved events.
Yeah.
That's all I loved.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was just put on these events.
Yep.
I had these crazy ideas in my mind.
Yep.
And I just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But there's that side, that's one. And then there's the business side itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do I make money off those events?
Yes.
And then there's also the how you're going to build your surroundings by it, because that part again is huge, because we're both technically in the people's business,
Absolutely.
events obviously are right at the forefront of that, but yours is the same as well, because without yes, you might do products sometimes, but most of it is also people, because you deal with business owners, all that type of stuff. So there is a lot of layers to it, and sometimes you can't blame people for not getting that clarity at all. It's not that easy.
No, absolutely. And even now that I know I need clarity, I'm still struggling to get the full clarity. It's a whole,
and you're always improving on it.
Always.
So I always check that clarity every year.
Yeah.
I literally have my goals written out, and I've written it out.
Amazing.
And I said, okay, am I on track? Yeah. Am I on track? Oh yeah. So you really need to look at that as that.
So what have you got in your clarity? You got your goals?
Yeah. So one is the goals. Two is our target audience and who we want to attract.
And does that include the avatar?
Avatar, the everything. Yeah. So we built the persona, the target audience. The strategy in terms of how we're going to get there as well.
Nice.
Which is awesome. So that's done. And then the last but not least is the events itself, the delivery, so one thing for sure is that I don't want to be on events themselves, so on site at events. I do want to hand that completely over.
Nice.
So I've decided to do that.
Getting off the tools.
Getting off the tools. Well, literally. So that is definitely a clarity for the past 2 years, which has been great. And then the second part is also off that on site, is that I'll be there at the event supporting my client, especially if they're a first time client. I will 100% be there to support the team and all that, but I'm just going to be on the outside and support that, because I will be at the event just to make sure that nothing, you know what I mean? Absolutely.
But you're seeing the big picture. You're not in the midst of it.
Correct. Yeah. I've realized my strengths and my weaknesses, so, and that's a big part of it. So my strengths is that I'm a people person. I need to be more around people. There was a phase and time, where I got bogged down by the business, and we all go through this, and I let go of that side, and I said, okay, I need to focus more on actually organizing the event. But the truth is, I should have just removed myself from that position a long time ago. And stuck to my personal skills in terms of connecting with people, and marketing and sales as well is another one. Sales, not so much. I'm definitely not a sales person. My wife is definitely a salesperson. She is incredible. She can sell you whatever she wants. I only sell because I love events. I literally it just comes hand in hand, and I understand it and all that. My wife will say, no, you're constantly selling. Don't say you're a salesperson. But I see her skills versus mine. She is up there.
That's right. I mean, you don't have to compare yourself.
No, it's not even comparing myself. It's just more like
acknowledging
the skill. Yeah, it's actually so she puts on a lot of great work, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a totally different level of, you know what I mean? So she's trained me partly, amazing as well.
I'm gonna come over for a session then.
I was gonna say, I'm planning to try and get her to give me more training. But when you see her and her passion for it, and it's funny. Her strength is more the empathy side of things. You know what I mean? She really, so she doesn't sell. She just understands.
I love her.
I love that. I love that about her.
It's funny. Like literally last night, I was trying to sleep early because I had a 5 a.m. start today. And my wife is a psychologist, and I literally said to her, hey, can I book in a session with you so you can teach me more about people?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, because about empathy and all.
That's
a great idea. That's a great idea.
It's not that because I definitely don't want to be that salesy sales.
No,
I do. I've spent so many years
one of those days too,
understanding people more, and we bring it in so many different factors of business, and even my team. I'm constantly teaching them stuff and saying to them, it's so important you rock up to a shoot, say hi to everyone. Rock
I
up
love that.
10 minutes earlier than you need to, you know, just, you don't have to do anything, but just say hi to everyone, have a chat, have a laugh, you know, that rapport building at the start is so important.
Yes.
Because then you can ask them for anything. You can say, hey, you know what? This setup is not looking what I thought it would. Let's just move it over. And they trust you. You've already built that part of it. So, and I've been spending a lot of time, you know, just understanding that more and more. And to be fair, I've been like probably the last 6 years, I reckon, I've been just understanding how to understand people more and communicate better with them, rather than going to like a sales seminar or like learning to be a better salesperson. I definitely don't want to be that.
Yeah. No, it's well, it's the communication aspect.
How to communicate
better with people.
And yeah, and what you were saying before as well about, you know, like you not needing to be there, you should have removed yourself.
Yes.
We were on a shoot last week, and after the shoot, I ended up saying to one of my guys, you guys would have been fine without me, because we were butting heads on the shoot. Yeah, because he was trying to set up lighting in a certain way, and then I was like, no, let's do this instead. And then we try that, and then it would, you know, both of them were like 80% there, but we both needed a twist. But we were both putting input in, which was changing it completely. So if I just stepped out of that equation and let them do it, you know, it would have been a lot quicker to set up that, rather than me going, you know, and I even said that to him. I'm like, you know what, we were butting heads there, because I'm trying to do lighting in this way, you're trying to do lighting in that way, and there's no right or wrong way, but you know, as long as the end goal looks really good.
But it's the letting go aspect.
It's the letting go.
It's very hard. You don't realize actually how much you put yourself in that position. And you're like, oh my God, I am the problem. Do you know what I mean?
I was, you know, without tooting my own horn, I was also like really proud of myself for recognizing that I was the problem.
Awesome. Yeah, I like hearing that.
Like
That's
it's, I think, and vocalizing that too. You know, vocalizing that to go, I was the problem. We were butting heads. So I should have just stepped out of that. You know, like. So
that's perfect. I mean, that's self-awareness. Yeah, that's the self-awareness piece. Is understanding that. Oh, okay, maybe I'm not that. You know, maybe I should step away from that and recognize that. So that's exactly what you did. So which is awesome. Oh, that's good. I love hearing that. And you know, it's the same with me. Removing myself from the on-site production side part. I've just realized that my strength is really motivating my staff and giving them the great direction on how to deliver the events that I want to deliver. And I've been doing that really, really well in the past 2 years now. And I'm just super happy with where I am. I know that things are only going to get busier and better from here. So that's all attached to the clarity part that comes through. And speaking of clarity, you know, I think I mentioned to you, but I will tell this story to everyone, because I was, you know, in events, when I started out, all I wanted to do was create these incredible events. And I was thinking to myself, okay, if I deliver this awesome event, everyone will be happy. You know, that's the immediate thought of anyone, an event organizer, a promoter, anyone that delivers an event. They're thinking, okay, the event is the only thing that I need to worry about. And if I deliver this, if I nail this, that would be fantastic. You know, one of the biggest, and at the time when I was, which this was 7 years ago, my mission was only to to deliver experiences that connected people. I thought events were all about experiences, and all I had to do was connect people through these events that I've created. But, you know, a couple of years ago, I organized this awesome cheese festival that was very, very popular. When you hear the word cheese, everyone literally goes goo goo gaga. I mean, I've never seen a product that gets that kind of response. It's not even. I called it the Cheese Lovers Festival. It's so funny because I did a 1.5 year research before I went there. I even went to travel to Adelaide to look at the only cheese festival that was running at the time. And the one in Adelaide was more bespoke. It was more about cheese and wine and fine dining, that type of approach of cheese. But what I thought of cheese, I thought of milk, dairy, kids, you know, everything from when we grew up with cheese all the way up to the 3-course cheese meal that we created at the event. And at the time when I put this event together, it was all the brainchild of my event that I put together. And at the time, I thought, okay, I've delivered this event. There's thousands of people for the stall holders and the and everyone that's attending.
Yep.
Well, no one should be upset was my whole motto.
Right.
But I got into some challenges around the stall holders themselves,
Okay.
because wanting more from us, wanting to build a community around them, wanting to expand on what we've already done really, really well.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't think, I thought, okay, once a year, it's a massive festival. If I give them that kind of income push,
Yep.
who's gonna count? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's gonna? But the events started shifting around that time a lot, because they've realized that the promoting aspect is not enough. People want more. They actually want you to be involved in their industry. So at the time, I should have just gotten more involved in the cheese industry. I should have gone and visited all those store holders, find out more about their world, find out what makes them tick, but I was so creative that I actually didn't need that technically, just to let you know, to attract those people, because on the second year, we had a PR stunt that actually attracted more people.
Nice.
And, you see what I mean? Like, so that's how I was thinking of things.
Yeah.
But the longevity of events depends on communities, so you nurturing that relationship, you not making it about you. That's what we were talking about.
It's not about me.
And making it about them, So that clarity, that I have in the past couple of years, was about delivering experiences. So our mission now is delivering experiences that connect people, build communities, and then support them on their mission. So we've kind of like expanded it really well, and that mission has become so clear now for us that I'm so excited to see what the future is going to hold. There's so much attached to that, and we're living it now. That's the best part. We're not just holding, we're actually living it. But I wanted to talk about that again.
It gives you that direction again. Back to what we're saying. That's that direction. You want to build that connection, build the community.
Yeah.
That's a direction for your business. That's where we want to go.
That's where we want to.
Yeah.
So when I say community, I'm not only talking about the stall holders.
No.
Now. I have to build with you.
Yeah.
You're part of my community.
Absolutely.
So all these, your stakeholders, your clients, your sponsors, your stalls, all the attendees.
Yep.
Those are all your community.
So how are you building that? Like, what does it mean? Like, implementation wise, compared to what you were doing before when you did the Cheese Lovers Festival, to now knowing that?
Yeah. So with the Cheese Lovers Festival, my focus was only the attendees. You see, nothing more, nothing less. So I had suppliers, I had stakeholders, I had store holders, I had sponsors. Sponsors, maybe a little bit more relationship, but even because they paid a bit more than your store holders.
Yep.
But even so, I should have created more relationships with them. I should have gotten more deeper with them, because that's the aspect we were talking about earlier. The deep aspect. It's not about just doing that. So again, it comes back to DSpec as well. So the guys at DSpec have created already a community like that, where they're connecting with, they're already building on. Now I'm bringing the platform, which is the event, which is the competition, to connect them all. Really? That's the part that you need, and you can't do it by yourself.
No.
So I'm trying to find founders or CEOs or organizations that want to do that for their business. They want to actually utilize events in a way to lift their whole business, their whole organization, take them to that next level. Some of the projects that we've been involved in, Positive Steps Festival was one. It's a fantastic festival that combines dogs and mental health as a means of support and therapy. Mind Connections Foundation, which is the foundation that runs this. Dr. Daya and Dr. Padmini are amazing doctors that simply wanted to give to the Hills community by spreading the word around mental health. And I came in and I gave them the festival idea of Positive Steps Festival. They were running it for several years before that, but it was never a festival. It was just a community right?
Yeah.
But I saw more, I saw the fact that, wow, this concept is actually a lot stronger than you think it is. And it will deliver this for you. And we were able to do that for them. And then there's other initiatives, just other events that we're working on that create that kind of impact. And
I mean, just to interrupt you, just on that, like, I brought my dog to Positive Steps last year, and it was such a great event. It was actually really nice just to even, be there with my dog, and it's just like a beautiful environment where, energy was really nice, and it was, it definitely came together really, really well.
It came together really well, and then again this year it came together.
I'm sorry I missed it this year.
No, that's okay.
But my team were there.
Yeah, your team was there as always supporting us, which is awesome. So, and events like that is what we want to keep. You see, that's the implementation. You'll see it come to life. You'll see it actually transcend to the storeholders, to the suppliers, to the and the people that are supporting us are. And this year, you missed this year, but this year was again another up the game compared to last year. Which is just like,
I saw all the footage and looked great.
You saw the footage, you saw the photos, and it was really, really good because of that. And we want to continue that. That's our clarity. We know that now. We know that we want to push through this, and we're going to continue doing that, so that we're very excited about that aspect, and seeing where it all goes.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really great.
Awesome. Yeah.
So have you have you figured out a niche, or is it more that you figured out a process that you are you narrowing your business at all?
It's more of figuring out the mission first off, which is great, because that is definitely the foundational piece of it. And then the niche part, yes, because the niche, well, at the end of the day, we love working with topics that we understand and resonate with. So for example, marketing is one of them. So we're going down that route, working with marketing managers and seeing what kind of engagement strategy from an events perspective we can deliver for them. So that's one aspect of it. So and then we've created 2 other niches based on that, and then we want to follow that as well.
Right. I asked because I've made the decision that we're gonna niche into the healthcare space.
Yes.
And honestly, it was a pretty scary decision. It was a pretty scary decision, but now that I've committed to it and I've gone, yes, we're doing it, every single day it just feels better and better and better.
Awesome.
The whole drive behind, focusing on photography and videography in the healthcare space was purely because I sat down and went, which space have I loved working with the most, working in the most? And at that point, I didn't even know if it's a smart business decision to go into the space or not. It was just purely, what space have I enjoyed the most?
Yes.
And I was like, well, healthcare seems to tick the box, because I love working with NDIS clients, love doing like Positive Steps at Mental Health Festival, love working with, doctors, like, we did work with like a skincare company. We did work with a disability company that do like wheelchairs and things like that. And actually a really fun one was an all-inclusive playground where kids with all different kinds of disabilities could
that's awesome.
Actually play. Such a fun shoot.
Yeah.
Actually play. There was a trampoline for if you're in a wheelchair, you can go onto the trampoline with a wheelchair, and
so good.
So many great features in it, and I just thought back to all those different shoots that we did for the healthcare industry, and I was like, this feels like the right space for us. But yeah, as we've focused more on that industry, more on that space, I've gotten a lot more clarity in that direction of where we're going in.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, even on our shoot today, one of my other clients ended up showing up, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" We're shooting. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm delivering a wheelchair."
There you go.
That's awesome. But it's been really nice, because now that I've understood that niche, I've started understanding, what does this industry need?
And guess what? Deeper
Yeah.
and deeper.
That's exactly what
That's not, yeah, exactly.
exactly what we're going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Deeper and deeper, yeah.
And that's why I said before, clients come to us sometimes going, this is what we want. When we properly understand their business, we go, actually, this is what you need.
You start educating and surrounding yourself
Yes.
by it. That's I think that's the biggest thing that we all miss out on. At the start, anyway, for sure, because that's where the ups and downs come from. Because we tend to change things around, and we're like trying this. Oh, it's not working. Oh, we don't have money. We have to do this. And it's all a part of it. And like I said, most of us don't get that clarity from the start.
No,
we have to do.
We didn't.
Yeah, I definitely didn't.
I was trying to be a master of none, where I was like, he's like just being best at everything. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that. You see, that is amazing focus, and it's only going to get better from here.
It is. And and since we've done that, I've also implemented a new structure in place, which redefines how a company gets their content. So the biggest drivers are to deliver authentic content that connects with their viewers.
Awesome.
That's the biggest focus would be.
That should be your mission.
It actually is part of this. Our new tagline is humanizing healthcare.
I love it.
And the reason that's our new tagline is because even though healthcare is such a space which is about people.
I was going to say it's already about humanizing people, but it's,
if you actually look at brands, they actually don't understand how to connect with people. Which blew my mind the first time I realized that. The first time I realized it, I go, why are like so many, I'd say at least 70% of companies using stock footage. Why are they all using stock footage? Why are they not?
That's actually a really good opportunity, but man.
I
didn't even realize.
Why are they using stock footage?
Great point.
And all the stuff that's on their website or their socials, it doesn't speak volume to what they're doing. It only shows we're in the healthcare space, or we help people with disabilities, or we help people who need this. But it doesn't actually show what they do. And people in the healthcare space, they're there because they care about people. They're there because they want to do better for the community. And none of that's coming through.
That's incredible. That's actually a very, very, very valid and good point. That's awesome. That's going to be great for you.
That's why I'm just so excited about being in this space and really focusing on it. Because for outside a company like ours to talk to a company who's looking at getting, some footage for their company, we can really highlight it and go, this is where you're actually lacking. This is where we can really do better. And that's why when I mentioned before, we're looking at how we can do like more documentary style shoots.
I was going to say they will fit in beautifully into the industry. That's what they need more of.
The last thing I was talking about was focusing, niching down in the healthcare space. Because a lot of them are using stock footage and you're not able to connect with their viewers very well. And I think I was talking about we're figuring out how to create authentic content that connects with the viewers really well.
So we spoke about the documentary aspect. All right, cool. So did we finish that? We left off somewhere. I think there was something missing, but that's okay.
I can listen back if we want, but otherwise that's okay.
We'll just continue.
All
right, awesome. All right, Ansh. Looks like we're on our second part, which is awesome. Well, after our coffee break, which is great. So I guess how long have you been in business?
Been in the industry for about 14 years now.
14.
I've been running this business for 5 years now.
Okay.
And
how? So were you working for someone else before that?
So I initially started when I started my career. I started my own business, and the reason I say it like that is because I had all these these visions and these dreams, and I wasn't really finding companies who were willing to give me a shot as like a complete fresh newbie. So I said, it's a friend of mine. We both went, you know what? All right, screw it. We're just going to start a business. There's nothing to say that you can't just start a business, right?
That's right.
So that was a lot of fun. It was definitely a very big learning curve. But I'm really glad we did it. So we started focusing on fashion and corporate industry.
Okay.
And it was fun. We actually did some shoots for some like bigger companies, some well-known companies like Sunglass Hut, Chic Australia. We got a couple of those kind of gigs, and although they weren't the big campaign shoots, it was still working with its brands was awesome. Uh, from that, I went into the wedding industry, and
Oh, you did wedding as well? I didn't realize.
yeah, I did weddings for about 6 years.
Oh, that's a bit.
Yeah, I was working for a company, and I was like head of production and also one of their head shooters.
Yep.
That was really great, actually. And that was such a big learning curve for me too, because I understood people a lot better. On a wedding day, you've got
Absolutely. You would definitely understand that.
all these different energies that are going on. People excited, but they're freaking out. They're like stressed. They're running late. There's,
That's why I don't do what is. As an event manager, event planner, that is, I take my hats off to a wedding planner.
absolutely, yeah.
I do.
It's such a big, stressful task. But it was a lot of fun at the same time. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Like there was, people always say to me like, oh, did you have to deal with bridezillas, or did you have to deal with like, what happened if something went wrong? And honestly, like once you're in the wedding space, it's fine. Like, you learn that, okay, you've got a year with this couple before their wedding date.
Yes.
That's about how long they'd book us in beforehand. So we've got a year with the couple.
Yeah.
Within the span of the year, it's your job, it's my job to educate them and to say to them, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how we make sure your day is going to run really well from our end. This is what you're going to get by the end of it. And by going through that whole process over the span of the year, by the time we get to the wedding day, we're like friends.
Yeah. Love it.
They know me really well. And it was really great. I figured out this structure, I guess, which allowed me to understand the couple on such a deep level that I could tailor my shooting to what the couple were like.
Got it.
And it was such a great process because firstly, as I said, we were like friends by the time we rocked up, by the time I rocked up to the shoot. So they trusted me 100%.
Yeah.
If I said to them, hey, let's walk behind those rubbish bins over there because it's going to be a really great shot, they would go with me without any question. Yeah. And it was cool. Like, some of my favorite shots were in like some of the worst situations or worst, environments because it was either raining or it was just way too windy or it was some challenge was presented. And I started to figure out, okay, well, I can either claim defeat and go, this is not going to work, sorry, or I can go, all right, well, what's Mother Nature giving us? Let's make the most of this.
So it's so funny you mentioned rain. My wedding day was pouring.
Oh, really?
In the middle of February, in the Hunter Valley, pouring. But our photos are the best photos that everyone that saw our photos were like, wow, this looks great. But that overcast apparently is much better technically from a photo shoot perspective. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really depends, right? So, yes, overcast is better because when it's overcast, you can shoot in any angle anyway. And overcast is basically like a big softbox. Like it's Mother Nature's softbox.
Yes.
So lighting is soft everywhere.
Yeah.
And that works really, really well.
Yeah.
But the downside to overcast is that it's harder to get creative with it. When it's a sunny day, you've got really, defining shadows. You've got strong sunlight.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
whilst yes, that's true.
Yeah.
It's all about knowing how to adapt to different lighting conditions, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. I think our photographer knew how to adapt because he sounds like it. Some amazing photos.
Yeah.
We have this epic shot of myself and my wife where we're in the Hunter Valley, in between the vineyards.
Yeah.
And it just looks so good with the background, of the overcast and just us in the middle there, and then all these vine leaves around us. It's so good.
You'll have to show me.
Yeah, I'll have to show you. I know. I'm surprised I haven't showed you yet. So I'll have to show you that, which is great. But yeah, we still had an awesome day. Yeah. So I'm not complaining about the rain at all.
Yeah.
None of our guests complained about it either. So that's the best part.
That's the thing. You realize that, like, it doesn't matter. None of it, weather doesn't matter. None matters. If you're there to have a good time, if you come with a mindset that I'm here to have a really great time,
Yeah,
that's and funnily enough, that became part of my process with my couples, with educating the couples, going, things are going to go wrong on your wedding day. The weather's not going to be exactly what you want it to be, and that's okay. Yeah, and we're like, this is the stuff we've shot in these conditions. We'll still make what's the most out of it. Yeah. So that was really good because when and I always said to myself, I loved weddings. I said to myself, as soon as I stop loving weddings, I stop, loving it 110% that I did at that time, I'm going to stop doing it because it's also not fair on the couples and it's also going to affect me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once I got to that stage where I'm like, I think I really need to pull off weddings. That's when I actually, my partner and I, we moved to UK.
There's that when you
Hoping to travel for 2 years and then COVID hit. We're like, all right, back to Sydney. But that's when I said, all right, you know what, I'm just going to start my own thing now.
Okay.
I'm done with weddings, but I would love to get back to the corporate space, the corporate commercial space. And that's when I started. Okay,
Those creative came to
life.
Yeah, there you go. Love it. That's awesome.
What about you?
So I mean, in events, I've been lucky enough. So my mom was the unofficial event planner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she was in Africa, where I'm from, in East Africa, you kind of dabble into a lot of things simultaneously because there's no one really there who's a full expert, you know what I mean, that does things. And my mom, although she had some background in sewing, fashion, all that type of stuff, she ended up becoming a wedding decorator. And she had these two big boys that she used for the muzzle. And essentially that's where my earliest career that I think of were with event management. And then obviously music was a big part of my life. I loved music. I never was a musician. I was always a behind the scenes guy. I was always the guy who wanted to put on the event or the music event. And that also played a big part of my life. I started with a bit of DJing. DJing wasn't that great, but I had an ear for music for sure, because all the big DJs in Sydney, so the ones that I used to work with, used to come up to me and say, "Hey, this guy knows his music." And more importantly, he knows what people like to dance to and all that. I remember in particular, there was one big DJ in Sydney who always used to come to me and say, how did I do on this set? And I always used to give him, feedback from that. So my music ear is quite strong from that perspective. But I also was lucky enough to tour with some amazing US artists and all that. And again, behind the scenes person, just helping them with their tours, literally picking them up from airport, doing those 3-day grueling, or sometimes a week or two grueling exercise. But for me, at the time I was young, I was just like, oh man, this is hungry and heaven and earth. It was so much fun. And I did that for about 10 years. And I realized that I still love events because when I was in the music scene, I was always different as well. I always used to create different events around music. So it wasn't just about the DJs or the artists. It was like, for example, we had a mini fashion show that was attached to that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I always thought that way, and themes and things like that. So again, with events, that was super, super relevant. And it's funny when you move to the corporate industry. Yes, it's definitely totally different. But I love the detail in corporate events. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of things that you need to think of, the amount of detail that you need to go through in order to bring this event to life, in order to make it really, really specific to that industry. So good. Yeah. I mean, and you see, when you see the speakers that you recommended to your clients come to life, or these are speakers that they've never heard of, but they're like, Eyob was right about that speaker. Yeah. And it's so on point for us. Yeah. It was an angle that we haven't heard of. I love seeing that come to life as well. And it's totally different, it's completely different. And the corporate events industry wasn't that easy. Like I said, I had a lot of ups and downs, like I said. And that was partly because I was still exploring the industry, and partly exploring my own world, which was the cheese festival that I put in between all of them. Yeah. So right now we're in corporates and we're in major events. So that's how we classify ourselves.
That's true.
So we have those two things going, and that's exactly where we want to be.
So how many years is it since you said, all right, we're going to be focusing on corporate and major events?
Yeah, so 10 years now.
How many years?
Yeah, so all still,
But yeah, stuff was all before that.
music stuff was all before that. Yeah, so that's what I mean. So it was all, and it's 10 years now, and that's through COVID.
Yep.
That's through the Cheese Lovers Festival. That was through going into a completely new industry. So it literally is a new industry until you realize you're there. I mean, a lot of people try and do that transition where they move from let's say music to corporate, and it doesn't work out as much, because it's totally different. But I guess I love a challenge. I'm definitely a sucker for punishment. There's no doubt. But it's okay. I love seeing that come to life for that. And it's been we're in a much better place today, like I said earlier, with our clarity and where we want to be. Just have you what was the main reason why you moved to you chose photography as a?
So I actually went to uni to do visual communications, thinking I wanted to do animation. So I did a degree that was going to lead me into animation, and it's really great that actually that visual communications course, it had everything from like graphic design to photography to, like media to design to animation to everything.
Right.
And so after doing that first year, I kind of realized, you know what, I actually enjoyed the visual aspect of things more than the animating aspect of things. And so that's when I completely switched my whole degree over.
Okay.
To this industry. I think it's funny, like I was talking to one of the guys, one of our guys in house the other day, and we were talking about like background and like what led us to this. And I just remember, I've got to dig it up. I checked with mom and dad, they've got the footage somewhere. I was always the one to grab the video camera off dad. I'd always be like, I want to record, I want to do it, and it's like the old like camcorder, just like there's a chubby kid running around all the thing. Okay, school, just trying to get footage. And it's just so funny, you think back to that, and I was like, at that time I had no idea that I even wanted to go into this industry. In fact, my parents run restaurants, and I thought I wanted to be a chef. So I thought I was going to be a chef. I was like, really curious about food, and I was really into all that. But once I started doing, the visual side of things, and actually once I started understanding light, that was what it was for me. I started to understand how like natural light behaves in certain environments. If you're inside a building, how does natural light interact with it? If you're outside, how does it interact with different spaces? How does it react with a certain colored wall? I started getting really curious about that.
Yeah.
So that's what led me into going, okay, this is the space I want to be in. But it was definitely a process, and I got into photography first because of that aspect of it, where I think maybe because I was so focused on lighting, I could freeze the lighting.
Yes.
Could freeze it and look at it and study it and go, how do I do better with that?
Lighting is, it's such a big topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's off.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, huge.
Huge.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I hear some of the best DOPs in the world are, for those who don't know, that's a director of photography. For filming, and for filming mainly.
Yeah.
They use lighting as their biggest way of creating a story behind it. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, like honestly, like if I have proper lighting,
yes,
but only an iPhone or an Android phone, I can still make a shot look really, really good. Yeah, as long as I've got the lighting set correctly, as long as we've got control over the lighting, or if we don't have lights that we can set up, as long as we can use the available light to our benefit, yes, you can make it look really good.
Okay, right. Yeah, and that that tells you a lot about lighting. And I mean, to your point of the wedding earlier as well,
Yeah.
in terms of how it all works as well. So,
Yeah. Definitely.
it's so interesting because there's so much detail that you can go into, and you know, sometimes you look at those photography books as well. I love looking at those photography books.
Yeah.
It's just it feels like there's so many different ways of taking one single shot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It really is that, and like, and that's what it is. Like, you know, once you learn how to manipulate lighting, yeah, you go. Then from a still image, then you go, okay, let's add video into it, which is a whole nother dimension, because now you're moving. As you move, the light changes. So then it just adds so many layers to what you're doing. And yeah, I was just so fascinated and so curious about, you know, how we can, how people, how producers, or how, like, you know, the directors are working with this medium. Yes, that brings out such an incredible end result.
Incredible. Yeah, it's so interesting to me because I love seeing people with that understand the detail of things, because those details. So I'm definitely not a detail oriented kind of person. I'm a more of a vision type of person for sure.
Yeah.
Although I've learned to teach myself to become more detailed,
Okay.
because of the interest, you know, for example, with events, you know, I want to make sure that I get it right. Do you know what I mean? That kind of approach.
Yeah.
And it's important to do that. But again, recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and saying to yourself, maybe I should let go of that side and get someone who can do it better than me.
Yes.
Is very, very important. And that's the part that I know that someone else can come in and do it better than me from that perspective. But watching those shows of details like that, for example, YouTube is the best. Whether it is organizing a desk or do you know what I mean? A photographer going through their photography journey and going through that and watching the detail that they put into it. Love those.
It's such a powerful platform, isn't it?
It's
open things up for creators to be, you know, to share their day-to-day process. And even it still blows my mind sometimes, you know, what creators are doing today, you know, with the medium of photography and videography, just how they can manipulate it in different ways and create something so new and different. And it's absolutely amazing. So
is there any aspiring photographers that you look up to sometimes and have a look at?
Yeah, I mean,
or any one person?
To be really honest with you, I get a lot of my inspiration on, like, I go down this rabbit hole of like a certain thing that's caught my interest. So for example, during COVID, it was the first time when I had, you know, similar to yours, where it's like, stop all the events, stop anything that's a luxury, you know, that doesn't need to be there, stop it all. So I'm sitting there with all this camera gear, not knowing what to do. And but it was really nice because, like, you know, from that I just moved into Bondi, and you know, lockdown happened and you couldn't go out of 5 kilometers of where you live. And
you lived in Bondi.
I was like, great. I was like, I'm gonna let that. But one of the really good things that came out of it is like I just started going for a walk with my camera.
Yes,
I would reduce my kit down to the smallest possible camera that I could do. So I was just a lot more hidden, and I just went around and started taking photos of just, you know, people running, exercising, whatever was of interest. And when I came back and I started editing those photos, I got really curious. And I remember I saw this Japanese artist who would draw over there on top of their images. And I was like, this is really cool. I'm just going to start drawing. And I'm not a drawer at all. I don't think I can draw. Like, but when I got my like graphics tablet out, I edited the photo, brought it into Photoshop, and I just started drawing on it. And it's probably some of my favorite stuff that I've done. One of my favorite projects I've done. Just started drawing on these images, you know, what I felt from it, and what I thought was there, the shapes I recognized. And the collection of images I got out of it was so interesting and so fun. And people started resonating with it so much more than I thought they would, you know, like I did this for me. it wasn't about anyone else. I did it for me.
So good.
And then people were like commenting on it, or people were like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like, how did you see this, or how did you get that out of it?"
Yeah.
And when I thought about that, I was like, "Oh, I got hooked with this Japanese artist, and I just went down that rabbit hole of, is anyone else doing this? Like, what are they doing with it? What are they, how are they interacting with it?"
Yeah.
And then I just, as I found that, I was like, all right, well, let me try it.
That's awesome.
So whilst I do, I do probably want to be following some more artists, I always find myself focusing on a certain element that they play with rather than their work themselves.
Yeah. It's so true how you can find inspiration from everything around you. Like, so I'm the same. I actually go down the same rabbit hole. So cheese was exactly that. Cheese Lovers Festival was exactly that. Me literally going down that rabbit hole of saying, oh, there's no cheese festival in this country. What's going on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I went to see Bruce Tyrrell from Tyrrell's Wines, he's like, in 150 years, we haven't thought of putting a cheese festival together. It's incredible, although we're wine producers. That's literally what he said. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes for someone outside your realm or your world to notice something that you haven't
Stir the pot.
It's to stir the pot. And that's what disruption is about, isn't it? It's like, it's literally someone outside of your industry looking into your industry and say, well, you haven't seen this opportunity yet. And that's literally what we did with the Cheese Lovers Festival. But I went down that rabbit hole. I did not organize that festival until I did a good 1.5 year research on it. Like I said earlier, I went to Adelaide as well, and I searched for the perfect venue in the Hunter Valley. The venue that we used was never had an event like that before. At the event, so I literally sorted out. I was like, oh, this is the picture perfect place to host an event. And it's the same with the weather aspect that you were talking about. We never hosted a cheese festival in summer. We knew that cheese is a winter comfort food.
Yeah.
And why would we host it in summer? And guess what? In droves, people came out because they were like, oh no, cheese in winter? Of course, that makes so much more sense. But other festival providers would have thought, no, I'll have it in summer because the risk of taking that. You have to follow the story. You have to follow the essence of the product or the service so that you can bring the best out of that.
Yeah.
So I would, like for me, hosting a cheese festival in summer did not make sense at all. It was like, no, I'm going to go down winter. And everybody was like all my friends around me at the time, they were like, why are you hosting it in winter? What if it rains? I was like, it's wine, it's cheese. How could people...
Nobody did go to know.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the Hunter Valley. How could you go wrong with that? And they're like, but still, there's a big risk. And they were right. They're absolutely on point. But funny enough, all 3 festivals, no rain,
Babies.
and which was very lucky. That was super lucky. But so it's just amazing.
And how about yourself? Like, are there is there someone follow in the event space? Is there inspiration that you get from certain people in the industry?
Yeah, I'm more like you. I definitely get my inspiration from the environment that I'm around. I pick up ideas so well from people around me.
Yeah.
But the past 2 years, I must say, I have been listening to a lot more event podcasts.
Okay.
Because I want to learn more about their process. I want to learn more about what they're thinking, how they're getting their inspiration from, and doing that. So from that perspective, it's been great. The biggest thing that I've realized is, yes, I'm definitely in the right direction in everything that I do. It's funny how you've got this imposter syndrome that holds you back, which is just ridiculous. Yeah, it's you, but it's ridiculous. I guess you need that kind of fear to kind of push you through. But at the same time, you're like, you should be super confident in executing it, and that's exactly where I'm at with things, which is fantastic. And but it's great listening to those podcasts, reaffirming everything that you know and you believe and you've done. Do you know what I mean? So, and you say, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Oh, this is great. This is exactly how I pictured it. But you always learn something. There's no doubt, because every event is always different, no matter what you do. Wedding, every single event that you could think of is always different. Yeah. So, and you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to work with the conditions. Yeah.
That's what I love about it, though. If they were all the same, for me personally, it'd be boring. If every shoot I rocked up to was the same,
Yes.
I'd be like, oh, I've done this.
Yeah. But you'll be surprised at how many people do not want to be in that position. That adaptability part is, it really is. Event managers have their own kind of blood. That's what I call it, because it's a resilience, adaptable type of person that needs to be there, and someone that's on their feet 24/7, that really jumps to the task. We're literally like ducks, floating beautifully on the top, our legs. So that's an event manager, and from a the world job perspective, it's one of the highest, most stressful jobs in the world. If you're doing it all,
I mean, it makes sense. Next
top 5, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's top 5 after an ambulance worker.
Wow.
And a police officer. So that's how it can get intense, and your well-being and sustainability around events is is a big conversation all the time in the events industry, because well-being aspect is sometimes you get caught in that whirlwind of organizing an event where you're working till 1 a.m. in the morning, getting up at 4 a.m. in morning, and doing that cycle over again. Guess what? You're not looking after yourself. You're not looking after the people around you.
Yep.
You lose, do you know what I mean? And you can definitely go into a rabbit hole with that. But the best event managers in the world know how to get that healthcare on top. Even me, I'm not perfect on that, but I've recognized it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing something about it all the time. And and especially around my staff, if I see them working overtime or any of that, 100% take a step back and reflect, because that taking step back and reflecting also should be a part of your process, in terms of saying, okay, well, we're missing resources here. What can we do to strengthen that part?
Yeah.
And saying to yourself, okay, we need more staff there, more. Yeah, it's interesting. Events is powerful in both ways. Yeah.
Do you when you first started events, did you as creators, when we start something, we've got this huge drive, we just want to create, we just want to produce, and if you look back to what you were then, are you still following certain aspects of that today?
Yeah, so back then, I definitely had a lot of energy. It's no doubt. I think about it now, and I'm just like, wow, I definitely had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is there was some tough times with events, I know, that I went through that had me rethinking things. But I never wanted to lose my childlike approach to events. So I've always kept that really well. Yeah. Although some of it has been challenged, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But keeping that childlike approach to things, I think it's the most important part in events.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's really funny you say that. I completely agree with you, because I talk creativity.
Sorry.
I'm currently in the middle of a rebrand.
Yeah.
And I'm making my logo so playful. I was like, I want to bring that child back. I want to be as far away from that corporate company as possible. I want to be I want Burst Creative to be a person in itself.
Yeah, love it.
So and it's funny, because the person who is helping me with my brand story is separate to the person who's designing my logo, and they're like, this doesn't really show healthcare. And I'm like, well, your point is very valid. I'm also more so wanting to show a fun and an interactive element, rather than going, everything around here that we're showing is healthcare. It's not so much about that. It's more so about who we are as a company and what we're encapsulating ourselves to do. And we're going, this is who we are. If we fit in with your brand and who you are, and you want to work with us, great. We'll give you guys 200%. If we don't fit into that, if you're looking for just another company, or a more corporate-y company, that's not us. And it's been really nice to separate that too. And
That's the clarity piece.
yeah. And going back to that childish is probably the wrong word.
Not childish, but child.
Bringing out the inner child.
Yeah, the inner child, I would say.
Yeah.
And the inner you, really.
Yes.
It comes down to that. It's just is who are you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be?
Yes.
How do you want the world to see you? And I think it comes to that.
Yeah.
I'm naturally a very very happy guy. You know what I mean? For example, like that's one aspect of it. I'm definitely a very, like I said, caring and generous kind of person, and I want to be that person.
Yes.
In business, sometimes, the money aspect comes into play, and people obviously want to take their advantage. But in order to stop that, you need to build systems and processes around it so that you can protect who you are versus the business. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the part that a lot of people get disheartened by. I went through that process. I went through that process where I got disheartened by it.
Yeah.
But I've realized that I have to separate those two things and really create a good, robust system and process that will make people question to come in and, do you know what I mean? Attack you or try and trick you, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the more, again, it comes down to the authenticity piece as well.
Yes.
It's being yourself. Why are you being held back?
Yeah.
By these past actions?
Yeah.
That could,
I think like one of the biggest things for me was also to stop caring about how others saw me or my company.
A big one.
It was a big one for me because
Big one for me too.
I was always like, the company should look like this. We should be looking like this.
Yeah.
And since I've kind of gone, don't care about that. I'm just going to do what I want, what I would be proud of.
I would be proud of. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And what my guys would, what they would love to be a part of. Once I shifted that mentality to it, I kind of went, I'm in such a better space now to go, okay, let's bring that inner child out. Let's make this more playful. Let's, and you were talking about that imposter syndrome, that was definitely coming into it, going, do I actually know what I'm doing? Am I actually in the industry, in the right industry? Should I jump ship? Like, I was like, should I just stop doing this, go work for someone else and, not worry about it? But I think, once I just sat myself down and went, no, you are doing the right thing. Just go back to what is really important to you. And what was really important to me was working with great people, working with really great people and, trying to do the absolute best for them.
Yes.
Just going,
so good.
You're a really genuine person. I'm a really genuine person. I want to work with you to deliver something, like more of a partnership, we're not here to create a full production.
Correct.
We're here to make a partnership.
Yep. Well, it's exactly that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how it keeps circling back around, isn't it? Like we brought that up earlier, and we were talking about it, and it's exactly that, because we're all looking, I guess, to a certain extent, finding the people that want to be around us and the people that we want to be around us as well. So, and it comes down to values and our behaviors that are attached to those values. Just last week, we've worked on our behaviors, but I wanted to revisit it again because I heard another conversation from a conference that I went to last week. And I was like, I'm going to revisit our behaviors again because I want to just see if it really is aligned with our values clearly. Because I remember this particular speaker that said that was, we want to be honest, integrity, and all that type of stuff. However, when I go into their offices, she said, I see there was a conflict there and there was someone lying about this particular, do you know what I mean? So nothing about that, about honesty and integrity was there. So when you point that out to the leaders, they're like, I was like, oh, that's such a great point. So I have to go back and revisit my behaviors. Am I actually following this through to the T?
Yeah.
I know that with some of them, I'm definitely am, and I know that with most, actually, I know with most of them I am, but I really want to be clear on that, really be like crystal, is this what we want? Yes. If it is, then follow through and deliver all that.
What do you mean by your behaviors? Do you mean like values? Is that the same thing, or is that a little different?
Values is integrity, all the words that you've attached to it. The behavior is what follows the values. Yeah. So how are we acting upon the values? Yeah. So that's what behavior is. And you want to do that part. And that when you're building a business, you want to have that trickle down to the people that you're working with. So that's the part that speaker brought up. She was like, oh, I go visit their offices and they tell me that they have all these amazing values on board. But when you see the behaviors, people are not doing that. So, we need to have an honest, open conversation about that and saying, okay, so but the thing is, it could be the wrong value for them, so they could say they need to now reassess their value and say, okay, I need to find a way of changing this value that aligns more with myself. But this is exactly what you're talking about, is the playful aspect that we just brought up, is you're being yourself, as being who you want to be. Yes, there is some business strategy attached to that you need to follow through and say to yourself, okay, how do I actually make that connect with the current clients that I want to bring with, is what we're doing. So for us, the Experience Index is the company name. So, and then Icon Corporate Events is the business name. So that's the corporate event management side of things. And then DSPEC is the major event side of things, so that's how we've put it together. And we still haven't created a website for the Experience Index yet, but that's going to be the mothership, of the business.
Yeah.
And then Icon Corporate Events is going to be the corporate event management side, and then DSPEC is going to be the major event. Yeah.
I didn't know that was the breakdown again.
Yeah, that's definitely the breakdown. Yeah, which is great. So a lot of things have been worked out with COVID and all that type of stuff. Even Growth Gen was during COVID, and that to me was, such a great purpose-driven event. More importantly, got me connected with people like yourself, Chris. The people that we know in there.
No, it was such a great platform.
Such a great platform. It served its purpose properly. And, I'm grateful for that. That's what we want to continue doing. I think from Growth Gen onwards, a lot of the direction of the business has been really, really good. Financially, we could be in a better place because obviously Growth Gen was during COVID at a time where event space completely. So let's be honest. But even though we still ended up building a community during that time, generating some income to help us, between that and the government funding that came through. So there was a lot of things that is seeing us come today here. That it's I'm excited to see what the next. Actually 5 years are going to look like. So
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
I hope you take time to recognize how far you've come as well. I think that's such an important thing, and I know I definitely don't do that enough. So I actively try and go. I'm always looking to where I want to get to. I haven't looked at where I've been. Where I've come from.
Yes.
It's such an important thing to recognize, because then it helps you grow further, right? It helps you go, okay, well, the last 5 years haven't actually been a waste. You've actually, it's actually grown, it's actually taken you further. So what are the next 5 years for you? Have you got a plan?
Yeah, we definitely have a plan. But I'm more, I want to go back to what you just said in terms of the taking the time and just really reflecting on that. Yes, reflection is probably one of the most underrated practices in the world. Just literally taking 2 or 3 minutes of your time and saying to yourself, "Wow, what did I do today?" Do you know what I mean? And how could I, improve on that, or saying thank you, or just say being grateful. So that process to me is very, very underrated, and some people do it really well with their journals, things like that. I must say, I've tried that. I used to journal a lot when I was younger for some reason, but not anymore. But the reflection aspect is, I always think about if I tend to think about it when, after going through a challenging time, I'm like, okay, put things into perspective. Do you know what I mean? How could you do this better? So, and what are you grateful for? What did you do well on that? And then,
It's something that I'm actually going to be starting of like, what did I do today? I think you're right, because I was talking about the last 5 years, but what about today? What have I done today?
what are we doing here? So it's just like we always forget these moments. We don't really, we're human beings. We don't really tend to say we're for them. And I guess to a certain extent, it's attached to human nature as well. So we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. I think that's the biggest part, is being hard on ourselves more than anything. But yeah, so the next 5 years for us is just really continuing to stick to our mission and really driving purpose-driven events that we want to deliver to its fullest extent. This year has been such a great year so far. Only 3 months in, but the impact events that we've been doing has been really, really impactful. And it's just, and I just love that. Only 3 months in. And by the end of the year, we're definitely going to be in a much better place as well, in terms of family events that we can impact from that. So very excited to see where that's going to take us. Niche down on that marketing on our target audience, and really build a trust system around that. So that's definitely what we're looking at. And then income wise, we want to definitely be we want to get to about 12 staff, and that's my goal for the next 5 years, is to get to that 12 staff. And then once I get to 12, then I'm not. So the thing is, like, my mentality is definitely sky's the limit. There's no doubt. But I'm not in a rush to get. Do you know what I mean? I more want to build something that's meaningful. That drives purpose for everyone that's within the organization, and then more importantly for my kids. For me, it's not about me anymore. Gone out the window. Yes, I have to look after myself and all that, but that's gone. Do you know what I mean? Now it's like, how do I get my kids involved? They're seeing some of my events and they're like, my daughter now has finally realized, she's like, oh, Dad does some really cool stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, he does this festival. Oh, he can do my birthday this way. Do you know what I mean? And so she's like, and she's having her 10th birthday this year, so it's like a big celebration. And I definitely want to make a big splash for her. So I can't wait to see that come forward for her. So very, very excited about that. But yeah, so that's the kind of, I'm thinking that way. Rather than